So, what happens if in a city a virus mutates and gets humans back to their most basic instincts? All they want to do is bang and murder. Maybe not in that order. We don't know. Come with us on this brilliant thrill ride where we take a deep dive into what happens.
Welcome, Gorehounds, to another episode of Horror Dork. I'm Mr. Sir. Joining me, as always, is the Anthony
Hello.
and my good buddy Golden.
Hello.
Today, we are talking about the 2022 Taiwanese Splatterfest, The Sadness, which is streaming currently exclusively on Shudder. Movie is not for the faint of heart.
No.
It is basic gist of the plot is a virus called the Alvin virus.
The Alvin flu, isn't it?
Alvin flu, yes, Alvin flu. Once you get infected by it, it turns you into a homicidal maniac. So the basic plot is
A horny homicidal maniac.
yes, like the most sadistic, demented person ever. And they so the basic plot is a guy drops his girlfriend off to a train station. She's going to work, and as he's going back, he stuff starts
Yeah.
getting real.
Basically, the poop hits the fan.
Yes, it does. So I really like this movie. It's one of those movies where it's a tough watch a little bit at times, but it's not done in like a it's distasteful, but it's not like done like in a way like the Serbian film.
It wasn't a shock. It wasn't shock and awe just for shock and awe. Like,
Right.
It made sense with the storyline. They gave you a story. They gave you relatable characters. They weren't just like, oh, watch these people do these horrible things. It really brought you along for the ride.
It wasn't important. Yeah, it didn't become like a showcase of just like gross stuff, which a lot of those movies can tend to do. And you do feel for the characters, and you're like, you feel like you're like, oh my god, please don't let bad stuff happen to them. And when you're seeing like you're not, and then it's not, some of the stuff is explicit, but some of it isn't. They do cut away. They're not like, it isn't relentless in that way either.
I think an important thing too, like they did for like really good contrast in the movie is as all these people are getting this virus and they're all turning into these depraved humans. During it, your protagonist, the girl and the guy, they keep their humanity to where like they're still trying to help people.
Yes.
In a situation where a lot of people would probably be like, "Fuck this, I'm gonna survive,"
Yeah,
and that's it. They go out of their way to try to like be better and to help people, which I thought was a huge contrast, and I think that helped make the story because of the fact that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have done any of that shit. I would have been all about myself.
Right.
But they were better people than me, which is why we cared. We want to see them in the movie.
Right.
You don't want to see me going, fuck you. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, and I thought that, like, because and it gets to the point where you're even like going, dude, just walk away.
Yeah.
Stop trying to help these people. It never works out for you. It
like
never
when he's on the bike and he gets to the part in the at the basketball court with that guy, and the kids are just messing him up. And when you're infected by it, what happens is you have like this goop that is just like oozing from your eyes. It makes you look like you're crying, and you just have this demented smile on your face, and you can't help but say the most sick and twisted things you can possibly think.
And for them, like,
and you mean it, and you want to do those.
Yes,
things.
and like for them, like sex, violence, pain is all intermingled.
Same thing.
It's all, so it's like, so you get to see some very interesting scenes, like with the basketball court thing.
There's a
Like,
baseball bat.
there is baseball bats and baseballs and
Yes.
everything, but like he thinks he's like, it looks like when he first comes upon it, it looks like this group of 4 teenagers that are infected are just brutalizing this dude, and like so he tries to go save him, and he runs off the kids, and then this bloody dude with barbed wire around him that they just like slammed his genitals into a pole also looks up. He goes, "Why did you do that? I was about to come." And I'm like, "Oh God, he's infected too!"
Yeah, we
And
get
then
out of
he
there,
starts getting
man.
baseballs like pegged in the back of his
Yep.
head from these teens. That like, you thought you'd scare us away that easily?
Yeah, you thought
And, oh,
there's more of us
really
than
well
there are
done
of you,
scene.
which is terrifying.
Yes.
Golden, you have such an eye,
Oh,
like a phobia
we're
of
just
stuff
gonna
happening.
jump
in
right
people's
into
eyes.
that, right?
No, but
That guy was
Like,
like a good,
Mentally
like,
traumatized
a
scene.
very scary antagonist.
It was like if
That guy
in zombie movies, like a lot of zombie, and this isn't a zombie movie. I thought it was going to be when it first started, but it
Mhm.
turned out to be so much more. But like a lot of times in the zombie movies, there's always like that alpha zombie, that zombie that you keep seeing, that
Yes.
keeps being relentless.
Land of the Dead.
This guy
Oh.
was like that. Like it was, and of course he was like the most proper looking businessman, which made
Yes.
it even better. But he was relentless pursuit of the main character and her friend. So because he wanted
Wasn't
to
even
murder
a-
them, and he wanted to do sex with them,
And that-
do the sex.
And that lady is not even her friend. It was
Yeah,
just a lady that he stabbed in the eye on the train when the people just start. When there's one infected guy on the train, just
that has to be
starts
like the
attacking
worst place
people.
to be in one of
Oh,
those
yeah.
situations. Like you're just on a subway.
and then they're, like people are getting like
it wasn't even
sexually
like a normal train.
assaulted. People are getting like just throat sliced, killed,
And
everything.
Unlike like
It's
with
bad.
zombie movies where it's like, someone might get bitten and then you got like, 5 minutes before they become a thing. This is like once any fluid goes from one to the other, they're like instantly. So as soon as you fought off the one threat, now there's another, and then there's
Yeah.
another, and there's another, and you're stuck in this tin can
Hmm.
underground, and you don't know who to trust because it's not an obvious thing. Like
And
it's
in
not
this,
super
like,
obvious
they
that
made-
they're the ones.
because the people are like aware and conscious and everything and are able to do things that zombies aren't able to do. I found these to be more menacing than zombies.
Oh, way more menacing.
Like it was bone chilling.
You got the intelligence, and it wasn't even just intelligence; it was cunning, and like this drive that they
Creativity.
had.
Yeah,
creativity. That combined with the quick infection rate, easy infection, like it basically took like what's scary about zombie movies and cranked it up to a
Yeah,
whole nother level. And not like the way that when people try to do fast zombies, like that was like trying to make it scarier. This this was effective in making it scarier because they took all the weaknesses that were there of zombies and they got rid of them.
yeah. It took like sort of like the concept of the crazies
Mhm.
a bit and like turned it up to 11.
Yeah, it was like I don't think I could talk enough about how well they did this movie.
Yeah.
Even though it had a absolutely emotionally traumatic scene for me, like Anthony was
Yes.
bringing up,
Let's get
I
back
have
to
eye
that.
issues. Which is weird to be a horror fan and have eye issues because so many horror movies go,
Especially
"Let's
modern
shove
horror
something in an
movies.
eye," and for this one, like
Zombie.
the alpha,
Lucci Fulci.
right? Oh, the alpha
So
guy,
good.
like he finally catches up to this girl who he stabbed her eye out, and she's just in a hospital
with an umbrella.
with an
Yeah.
umbrella. Yeah. She's in the hospital in this wheelchair, and she's like pretty much she's doped up, right?
And he uses his flesh umbrella.
Oh, he like walks up to her and he's like, "Oh, I've been waiting for you." And he starts to like mess with his pants. And I'm like, "Oh God, he's gonna mouth rape her," and which is gonna be
Nope.
bad enough. But then he reaches down and he moves her eye patch to where there's the hole in her eye, and
They don't show
and
this.
He starts to undo
but
his pants, and I was just like,
it's done-
"Oh God!"
It's done all with Foley work, which is bone chilling.
They did
Well, and you
an
get the-
amazing job, even though it
Yeah, you
scarred
get the
me for life.
excitement on his face that he's
Oh.
experiencing. So
Just
this movie has an underlying theme that humanity's base, I guess, primitive notion is just to be violent and revel in
It's
it.
a very nihilistic movie, even with the protagonist being like so like helpful. But it turns out it doesn't matter because they both.
There are more of them than there are of the
Yeah.
good people.
Anyways, I'm sorry, I didn't
It's
mean
okay.
to.
So this has like this really, like you said, nihilistic undertone for the theme, and you get to experience it not only through people that are infected, but also characters that aren't infected.
Yeah.
Because you're in a sequence later in the hospital, where everything ends up, and there's a doctor there that is trying to find a cure, and he was working on it before because he's the doctor from the beginning, warning people about the elven virus and what's
Yeah.
going to happen if this thing stays unchecked.
I only picked that up on the second viewing. I watched this movie twice,
Oh, okay.
and I'll not, probably, honestly, this is one of those movies where I'd usually be one and done. I liked it a lot, but it's like it is like one of those like not such a nihilistic movie. It does put you in a mood after you watch it.
So this is a very mean-spirited movie, and it doesn't shy away from it. And we were talking last week how horror comedies should not pull away from the gore because it's over the top, and it creates an atmosphere for the humor. In this case, it also works for over the top splatter films like Pieces and stuff like this,
Yeah.
where it can help add to the mood that's being created. But even though this movie goes over the top, they still manage to add an element of taste to it as far as being considered splatter.
Yes,
do.
That's why I like this movie.
Yeah, they do a really good job of like not showing the gore, but like you were saying with the Foley work and stuff, like you
Mhm.
still know what's happening. And I think
Yeah.
that's not only is that a tasteful way to do it, but that shows a lot of restraint in the fact that you are doing a very gory movie, yet you know when.
And the
to not
subject matter
force
is
it.
just is really like in the wrong hands. This movie could have been like unwatchable.
They also, I like the fact that there were characters that even without being in the virus were not good people. That's realistic.
Well, it turns out that it was
Subway.
helpful, but the guy, yeah, when they're escaping the subway tunnel, oh, that guy, well, he does sort of help them.
But he's still not.
But
a
he
good
gets like he gets messed up. But then when they're escaping, the guy sees them coming before he even sees the other guy chasing them. He's closing the gate behind them to kind of like
me in an
trap 'em.
elevator when I see people coming to the elevator. Nope.
They end up getting out of there in the nick of time right before that guy, the guy on the subway gets them, the girls, and what that guy gets his comeuppance
What
in a really
I also like because there was
from
a
that
character,
girl too.
There was a character in the movie that and he wasn't in the movie long, but I like when people take someone like show you somebody and you think it's going to be a certain stereotypical typical character and then it's not. And that was the douche in the subway.
Yeah,
The big dude, like so this dude's like, wearing too tight of a shirt, man, like he looks like just an absolute douche. They run around the corner and they slam into him, and he acts like a douche at first. He's like, "Wherever
Yeah.
you guys are going,"
He's
and
like,
then
"What?"
as soon as he
says, "What are you blind?"
Yeah, what are you
and then
blind?
she turns and she has
She's
like
missing
one
an
eye.
But
He's like, "Oh my god, you are."
but it's, yeah, as soon as he saw that like they were actually in real physical trouble, then all of a sudden he was a good guy.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was a more realistic character because a lot of these movies, it's so easy to get into. This is this stereotype. This is this stereotype, and for them not to do that, not to say we're gonna put in this douche character. You're gonna tell he's a douche as soon as he gets there, and then he's gonna stay a douche, and then you're gonna kill him and be happy because he's a douche.
Because so many of the characters in this movie become like inhuman. They do write the people that are like, when they're human, they are written like as humanly as possible.
Yeah, there's an element of redemption to civilization.
Yeah.
And the second that civilization collapses, the people that still retain their sense of civilization or culture or whatever.
Yeah, and it's also
still
like
decent people.
Yeah, and it's also like a response to like, government, not helping at all and just being, and that's shown in a
Not
pretty,
even that.
in a pretty funny way.
Just being completely incompetent.
Yes. Yeah.
The
The scientist that's finding a cure. I mean, he eventually does, but his
Does he find a
hubris.
cure?
Or
is she already immune?
Maybe she's immune, but she would be the thing for the cure. I mean, I don't want to know if we want to spoil the ending of the movie or anything, but
Yeah.
Anyways, what were you?
I was just gonna say, there was there was a scene that made me laugh, like, and it's one of those, like, all of a sudden you just start laughing, and it probably, I mean,
I mean,
it's
in a
clearly
movie
meant for
like this,
comedy.
it's so tense. Like they do have moments of levity at points.
And the one really got me. Like, I was laughing probably way harder than I should have, but it was where it was in the beginning, and it's when the old lady was in the fast food joint, and she was
Yeah.
walking out, and that car just fucking smoked her.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that was jarring because it was just such a quick thing. And then for the driver, he's like, "Oh man, did you see her smile?" And they're like, "Oh my god, and he's infected too."
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
That's when it was starting to ramp up to where,
Yeah.
like, all of a sudden you realize how many people are
You're like, "Oh,
infected.
no,
It
this
wasn't
is-"
just this one little event. And I think that, to me, that was such an amazing scene because of the fact that it just started the movie off to where you're seeing exactly how quickly this spreads. You
Yeah, how
see
far this
how
movie's willing to
violent
go.
it is.
Yeah, and she's there when he's taking her to the bus station. They pass a scene, a crime scene, and the guy's infected, and you just see like this crazed looking dude, and you're like, oh no, this is gonna get nasty.
Yeah, that, and to me, like, that scene did so much because it showed like how quickly it spreads. It showed how violently they get, and then really quickly, just by that guy smoking that old lady,
Yeah,
it showed how widespread it already was. Like, this isn't the starting point. This is just where you first learn
and how
about it.
capable
It's
these
already
people
going
too,
everywhere.
because usually in like a zombie movie, the person that hits the zombie that's chasing them is just a person that's trying to get out of there, and this person was deliberately doing it.
just literally just smoke that old lady across the hood. I'm laughing again just thinking about it because it was hilarious to me. I don't know what it is about taking out
Yeah.
old people.
And
Movies.
and like part of the disease is they don't go after their own usually because it doesn't strike the pleasure centers when the people aren't suffering.
Yeah. So one thing that I feel foreign countries do it, like, when you get into genres like French extremity or a lot of Korean horror that tends to be very violent and bloody. Even some of the I don't know if I'd go as far as some of the Japanese gore films like from the 2000s,
Yeah.
but where a lot of American directors go, they're after a reaction. So when they're showing splatter on screen, they're after a reaction. They want to gross out the audience or whatever. And what these other directors from other countries tend to do a lot better is they're not going for a reaction as much as they're playing into the emotion they're portraying on the screen. And that's why I feel it that's why I feel that these movies don't tend to go too far when you watch them, even though they do at points.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. This movie's intense. It is. There are gory
So like
stuff.
I'm looking and comparing this to movies like Human Centipede, the Hostel series,
Yeah.
which I enjoy the Hostel series, but it's all about reaction. It's all about shock and gore, shock value. Where these, like I said
Serbian
before,
film.
yeah, the epitome,
Yeah, like the opposite end of the spectrum of the
right.
sadness.
But then you go back to these Korean directors, these French directors, and they're not about shock value as much as they are emotional value.
Right.
And then I will always stick to this thing on that with, like, shock, awe, gore. It's not going to bother me. Like, I'm not easily put off by that because I
Oh, really?
grew up watching the horror movies, except for the high stuff. But you have to earn it. Like, you have to earn trying to shock me by giving me a story. You got to bring me to that point
Can you give an example?
of ones that do earn it or don't.
Yeah, do or either.
Well, I mean, this one does earn it. Like, there's a legitimate
But
story.
is there
There's
something you
characters
had in
you
your
care about.
head when you thought about it?
Not specifically. I mean,
Well, maybe like
I
Evil
have
Dead
things
2.
I have things with the opposite spectrum, the ones that didn't earn it. Like, all the people that are all about, like, Terrifier. To me, it doesn't earn it. It doesn't make you care about the character. I don't care about Art the Clown. I don't. Like, and I'm someone that 100% loves Freddy Krueger, Jason, Michael Myers, because I feel like they bring you along
That's
on
fair.
that ride. That one doesn't have anything. And then, like, I
Well,
watched
yeah,
like,
but
the
they
Evil-
also have backstories to their
Right.
characters. I don't feel like Art does.
I would say like,
like-
the Evil Dead
he?
remake has good gore effects and it like earns
Yes,
it.
I think that, yeah, they absolutely earned it because it's the whole idea of that whole thing was that caring friends, and then of
Mhm.
course one idiot that If people are trying this hard to get you not to read a book, don't read the book.
Yeah,
Don't read the
really.
book. It's wrapped in barbed wire. Don't read it.
Black
Like,
thing.
come on, come
It
on.
says don't read in it on all
Yeah,
the pages.
Everything's blacked out, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do the 1920s detective trick with the pencil. It's like, stop, dude, stop. You were like, I wanted him to have the most brutal death because he earned it.
Well, and he
He screwed
does.
his
He
friend.
straight up, he
Oh, yeah.
gets brutalized worse. He gets the Ash treatment in that
deserved it.
movie big time.
Yeah, because he doesn't die.
No, he doesn't. Not
living.
until the end when he becomes a Deadite.
We're live anyway, so.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like,
Oh, gotcha.
so.
I thought you meant because a motorcycle went by.
Oh, no, no, no.
No.
I'm hoping the domestic dispute goes out the window again. Jeez.
All right. So, any final thoughts on Sadness? I mean,
the
I think we
sad-
touched on pretty much all the stuff.
Watch
that-
the sadness. It brings you happiness.
Yeah, I mean, it's on Shudder.
He's right now going, Golden's not welcome back.
If you don't have Shudder, if you're a horror fan, definitely get it. They're gonna be starting the Last Drive-In new season starts this month.
Honestly, like, this movie really did surprise me. When I went into it, I thought it was just going to be another zombie movie just to throw into the pile of zombie movies. and
Yeah.
it did so much more. And honestly, I honestly think this is
Yeah, it's
such a
next level.
great movie just because they do great with contrast. They know what beats to hit at the right times, and they don't always do what's expected. And I think that's huge, like, to bring you out of stuff. And also it's one of those movies that's also just a scathing remark on the human condition. Like,
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
what this movie boils down to is all humans deep down inside are horrible garbage.
Not all, but yes.
Not all, but there's some redeeming ones.
Right.
So do you think? Yeah.
All right. So if you're to rate this out of a 5, what would you give it?
I give it a 4.25.
What would you give it?
3.
3?
Yeah.
I'll give it
I
a
enjoyed it.
I'll give it a 3.5.
To me, 3's not enjoying it. But okay.
Yeah.
To you, 3's not enjoyable.
No.
Really?
Nope.
It's above
You
average.
don't at least hit a 4. I'm not recommending.
2.5 is half.
2.5 might be half, but it means it means I think it's garbage.
All right. Well, I'm Mr. Sir,
I'm Anthony.
I'm golden.
and this was Horror Dork.
Or dork.